I think that was another reason why I decided to really do accounting. I thought in 4 years I can have a good job, I can support myself, I can support my family, and it was a good career for me for many, many years.
This video is proudly sponsored by Chapman University's Archie Rose College of Business and Economics, located in beautiful sunny Southern California. Are you thinking about pursuing a master's in accounting? Chapman's MSA program is tailored for ambitious professionals like you. With intimate class size and a collaborative atmosphere, you will receive personalized attention from world-class faculty who bring extensive industry expertise to the classroom. Enhance your accounting skills, fulfill CPA license requirements, and elevate your career with Chapman's flexible MSA program. Discover more and apply today at chapman.edu/MSA. Hello! So we have a special guest, Ela Bijlani, the founder of Consulting and Coaching Solutions, LLC. Ela, thank you so much for being on my podcast today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Rosey.
Thank you. So Ela and we met at the AICPA Women Global Leadership back in November. And I had a great conversation with Ela. I reconnected with her after the conference and I was like, can you please be on my podcast? So here she is, be a guest on my podcast. I'm very excited for the conversation today.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, first and foremost, can you introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So I'm a CPA, started in public accounting, and later on I transitioned into corporate space where I moved up through many different roles, starting from accounting to then SEC reporting. In my last role, I was the director of SEC reporting and accounting at a public company. And then I decided to transition into my own business, and I have been doing that since.
Wow, doing your own business, that require a completely different set of skills. So we will talk about that later in your CPA journey. But let's go back from very beginning when you were in college. I just want to know, why did you decide to go with the accounting major, or who influenced you to go with the accounting major?
Funny story. I never really had that dream to be an accountant, but I had really good professors that made me realize that I had a skill that I can use. And they really encouraged me to become an accountant. And I think another reason why I decided to go into this profession is because when I started college, I was actually an international student. So I had to find a career that is going to provide me the resources to be able to support myself when I graduate. So I think that was another reason why I decided to really do accounting. I thought in 4 years I can have a good job, I can support myself, I can support my family, and it was a good career for me for many, many years.
It's very common that people, they wanted to be accountants because of a professor or because of someone they talked to in high school or in college. So that's amazing that those people actually inspire students to become accountants. So I just want to give credits to all the professors out there doing amazing jobs to influence students to be accountants. I love that. Go ahead.
Yeah, especially that, when you're in college, sometimes you really have to find yourself and find what you're good at. And if somebody tells you, hey, I can see a potential in you, I can see that you can really be good at this, I think it's a huge encouragement to anybody. So yeah, huge shout out to professors who really pay attention to that and not just focus on teaching the subject.
I agree. So after you graduate, it looks like you start working. You said you start working in public accounting. Is that a small CPA firm, Joe Dava CPA?
Yeah, so I was working at that small firm while I was going to college.
Oh.
I was going to college, and then working at the same time. And then when I graduated from college, I was working at Morrison, Brown, Geese and Sarah in their estate firm. So I was responsible for accounting for trust and estates and also filing some tax returns.
Wow, I don't know how you can do trust and state. What state is fine, but I work on some trust and it just blew my mind. And I was like, this is so confusing. Bring me back to business returns. I like it better. So.
I have to say, if I was in a division that was focused on corporate returns, I think that would have been more on my path. I didn't enjoy the trust in the States so much. So that's when I kind of transitioned into corporate environment.
That makes sense. But besides of just because you're not interested in the tax side, but are there any other reason why you decide to leave public and then go to private accounting?
At that point, so what happened at that point, it was 2008. The economy was like really bad. And there was once again a person who influenced my decision. So I was talking with the recruiter about different positions available. And he, once again, saw a potential in me that I really didn't see or didn't know it existed. And I didn't know that an area like SEC reporting really existed in accounting, right? Because a lot of times when you go to college, you think, okay, tax or audit, and that's all there is. But there are really so many other areas, even in the corporate space, that I think is just not advertised enough and people don't know it exists, that you can grow in that area. So this particular person asked me if I wanted to interview for this job. And it was a job in a corporate environment, in a huge company. And they were looking for somebody who would actually do SEC reporting. So they were willing to take the chance and train somebody, which is also another great thing, right? For managers to really be able to train somebody and really take on that chance of teaching somebody and really teaching them the things that they need to do the job well. So I took that role, and I think that's where my path really started in the corporate environment.
That's interesting because I was opposite. I work in private accounting first, and then I moved to public. And as of now, I don't want to go back to private. So it's very opposite transition.
Yeah, and there's so many areas in private. So I know that monthly close probably wouldn't work for me all the time because I like the challenge. So I like these projects that pop up. And that's why SEC reporting was interesting, because there were technical implementations that I had to do. I had to read guidance. I had to write memos. I had to, organize the audit work papers. I had to do a lot more than just basic accounting.
And that makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
It's way more fun than just regular accounting. You have to weigh both and based on just numbers to understand the report and to complete the requirement as all the tasks that are assigned to you. So that's amazing.
Yes, and then another great thing about those roles is that you directly interact with executives on really company's performance. So you get to understand the business much better than when you're just entering the transactions.
Were you nervous at that time when you work with people on the top of the firm?
No, since I came out of school, I've always worked with the top. It's just kind of how my career developed. So whether it was partners at public accounting firms or later on CEOs, CFOs. I think it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to understand business, and it's a great place to understand how accounting works.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
That's good, because I know that some people, they can be so good talking with peers or like managers or seniors above them. But when they get to like partner or they get to like CEO, CFO, they get so nervous that they're not themselves. And they also don't know what to say or what to talk about. So I think it's amazing skill that you have at the very young age, that you don't feel that nervous when you talk to people on the top of your company. So I think that's great. But it looks like you work there for about a couple of years and then you moved to another company?
Yeah, it was also an SEC reporting space.
Oh, okay.
I decided to change roles, but I took a role at a different company doing really just the same kind of responsibilities. And this position was actually a lot more accounting and SEC reporting. It was a bigger team, which was nice. It's always nice to have people around you that you can communicate with, bounce ideas off, that you can learn from. So I really enjoy that role. I think in that particular role, I worked for a manager that really showed me what leadership is all about. I think she really kind of painted my picture of perfect leadership. So it was a beneficial position on so many different levels.
So is that true that you moved to a different company because you feel like your team was too small and you couldn't have a chance to learn from them?
Yeah, so I was one person department. So what happened is my boss actually passed away. It was a really tragic situation. So then I became one person department, and it was really challenging.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned about perfect leadership. Now I'm curious, what is perfect leadership now in your definition?
Yeah, so when I moved to this new role, I worked for somebody who was a chief accounting officer, I think, at that point. And this person she was a great leader on many different ways. First of all, we had team meetings, but it wasn't team meetings talking about tasks, but it was team meetings about connecting with each other. And it really changes perspective. People get to know each other and they really, really bond much, much better as a team. But this person also, she knew each person on the personal level, not only as the work that needed to be done. This person was 2 levels above me, but she knew the challenges or, opportunities that were in front of me. And I'm going to give you an example. So what happened is at that point, when I changed those roles, I just took my first section of the CPA exam. It was the FAR section, which to me, I think it's like the hardest, the hardest one. But because in that prior job, I was the one person department, I really didn't have time to study for the other sections. So this one exam was about to expire and I was about to lose it. And I knew that I just didn't have it in me to take it again because at that point I had a full-time job and a small child at home. So it was middle of a reporting period and I realized that there was a board meeting. So I flew in. So this particular leader knew that I was working on completing my CPA exam. And she asked me actually to go to this board meeting and apply for the extension. Now, a lot of people at that level wouldn't know even about, opportunities or challenges that you're facing, but she was so in tune with every single person on their team. She knew exactly what was going on with them and what they needed to succeed. And I think that's really the perfect example of leadership, a leader who knows what the person needs to succeed, right? And helps them to get there.
Wow, she's such a great leader. Wow, that's amazing. You were so lucky to have her in your team and to have her as your leader because I experienced some good leaders and some bad leaders. And you can tell right away when you work with bad leaders that you feel like something not right. But you work with good leaders, you receive all the credits that you deserve, and then you receive all the care that you need, attention you need to get the job done. So now it makes sense, perfect leadership. I don't know, some people are so good about that, like knowing, understanding, remembering people, issues, people's stories. I have to write them all down. I have an Excel spreadsheet and I have to note it down all information about my team. So next time when I talk to them, I just open it and say, oh, last time we talked about this. Gotcha. So I just, so I can refresh my mind. So I have no idea how people can remember everything about other people's life. I think that's amazing.
I think that's what makes a difference, because when you think about it, we're in a number business, but we're really in the people business because people do the work. So I think it's easy to get lost as an accountant in the numbers and forget about the fact that we're actually leading the people.
That's so true because people always think that accountants are just working on numbers only. Accountants are not some kind of people who are good with like connections, like human skills, something like that. So I'm always amazed when when I see all accountants and people talking about like networking, talking about leadership skills, talking about connection skills, and then about telling stories. A lot of skills out there, not just about numbers, not just about financial reports. It's a lot behind. So yes, for people listening to this podcast, absolutely hopefully understand that accountants, we are not just sitting behind the desk all the time. But Ella, you mentioned about facing a challenge studying for CPA exam, working full-time job, and having a little baby at home. How did you overcome that challenge with the support from your amazing chief of accounting officer?
Well, it took a lot of studying. It took me about 2 years to pass all 4 sections because, like I said, I had a full-time job and a small baby at home. So it took a little bit, but once I got the extension, it gave me the motivation to really go and finish the other sections. So it took some time, but I had to do it. I worked after hours to complete studying. I didn't have any weekends for 2 years because I was studying, but I was committed. So I finished. I got the CPA exam. It was important to me. And I think that's really what provided the opportunities to really step up and do the things that I wanted to do later on.
Yeah, I think commitment is really important when you study for CPA exam because you have to go over so much information. So much information in the study material to take the exam and to pass the exam. And it's competitive, it's challenging as well. So kudos to you. After all that challenging circumstance around you, you still pass all 4 sections. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's because if you pass it in 3 months and you pass it in 18 months and 2 years, you still a CPA, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's circumstances are different.
Yeah.
I know people who took 6 months off from work and they just focused on studying for the CPA exam. And I think if you can do that, that's probably the best way to go. I didn't have that option because I was working. So that's okay too. You know, I don't think that there's a good or bad way. I think it's just about the commitment and about just doing what works for you.
That's so true. And then after you work as like a director in accounting and SEC reporting for a number of years, you decide to shifting to leadership and coaching. Why did you make that move?
Yeah, so once again, I had a chance to see some good leadership, some bad leadership. And I think I was really inspired by the good leaders in my life. And I was always trying to figure out, what do they do differently, you know? And I really think it's that connection that makes that difference. That's what really motivates people to want to do more for them. And at some point, I was trying to figure out which way am I going to go next. So I actually hired a coach. I didn't know that something like coaching existed, but I ran into somebody who was a coach. I hired a coach. And I started realizing that, you know, maybe it's time for change. Maybe it's time to really do something different. So I started taking coaching courses. I was amazed at what coaching can do. One of my professors was actually a CPA who used to be a tax partner, but then decided to do business coaching for clients instead because he saw such a huge difference in what that can do for the business owners. So I was really inspired by that. And I decided to dive in, study leadership, study executive coaching, do a lot of coaching sessions because I truly believe that it makes a difference in not only how effectively we will lead, but also the business results. You know, we don't see a lot of times the number on the income statement that's going to say, the ROI of coaching or the ROI of good leadership. But we all know that we do so much better for good leaders.
That's so true. I agree. Based on my own experience. I was like, when I work with good leaders, I'm going to go above and beyond to get the job done. I'm going to stay late to get the job done. But when I work with not very good leaders, it's very difficult for me to stay late to get the job done. But because I take my responsibility to finish the job, so I still complete the job, but do not have that strong motivation to get the job done. So it's very different when you work with great leaders and you work with not so great leaders.
Yeah. And sometimes the trouble is that a lot of times when we are experts in an area, let's say in accounting, we automatically assume that we're also great leaders. But those are two different scales.
Very different. I
Very
don't know.
different.
Very different. They
Yeah.
are not the same at all. When someone can be so good at the job, knowing all the regulations, all the tax code, but leading the group is just not his strength. So I don't know how people can combine that two skill sets. They are very different skill sets. For me, to understand that.
And another question is, how do we then develop these skills, right? Because a lot of times we're put in these positions and then we just have to figure it out.
Yeah,
right? Because leadership is usually not taught at school. There's very limited training to really prepare people for the positions. You kind of have to figure it out when you're a manager.
I agree because I took so many leadership classes when I was like experienced staff, senior supervisor. And then I was like so early in my career stage to lead people when I took those classes. So I still remember, but I didn't really apply it right away. And then now I'm the manager and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that's why people said that in the class. but I'm still like trying to figure out my own way, like how to be a good manager, how to be a good leader. But talking about leadership, you are a coach and you probably discuss with so many leaders. How do you identify good leaders? What characteristics that you see in good leaders?
I think good leaders are coachable. I think good leaders are willing to learn. I think good leaders are willing to receive feedback, wanting to improve. Once again, just because we're experts, it doesn't mean that we don't need to grow in other areas like leadership or like listening or like connecting with others. Those are the very different skills. So I think very good leaders are just growth oriented.
Wow. I know that a lot of time accountants, we are struggling with leading people, even we are knowing so well what we are doing. Do you see that this trending is still happening or is getting better over time that accountants start leading people in a better way?
I think it's individual. It's based on individual people. Some want to learn, want to improve, and some just don't. Something that, they know already what they need to know. So I really hope that this is going to change, especially when we have so many generations in the workplace and everybody has very different expectations. Everybody has very different work ethics. So we really need to be able to develop these skills so we can understand people. We can, know what they need, how we can help them succeed, and really how we can work together.
How we can work together, I think that's the key. It doesn't matter if you are in private or public, in tax or audit, financial advisory. Working with your team is really important to get the job done, because if you do not know how to work together, job is still hanging there, and then like people get lost. Like, what do you want me to finish this? Like, when do you want me to complete this, and what do you want me to do with this? So it creates a lot of confusion if you do not know how to work with other people. So I feel like that skill set is not just about for managers, but also for any people who are going to start a new job or start a new career in the profession as well. That you have to work with all different people in different levels. That's what I think. But what do you think for people who are new to this profession, who just recently graduate, and they have so much to learn: technical, communication, soft skills, and also like professional ethic. So they so overwhelmed with so much information. What is the best way for them to stay focused in the right direction at the very early stage in their career?
Yeah. So technical skills are obviously very important, right? That's what drives that career growth. But I would start really early on to challenge. And I think a lot of accountants have to challenge themselves to do presentations, to do some public speaking, to understand the numbers better so that they can tell the better stories about the numbers, to connect with the clients, to understand the client's needs also. Not just focus on the compliance and completing the tax return, but also understanding, hey, what does this client really need? Maybe there is an opportunity there that we're leaving on the table because we're not used to communicating with the clients and really understanding the client. So I think it's really communication skills and really trying to understand the person next to them so that we can be more effective.
Yeah, you mentioned about public speaking. And we talk about this at the conference. And just for the audience to understand some background about Ella and I, that we went to this woman global leadership conference, and I expressed my concern about public speaking, that I love public speaking, but I'm concerned about my accent. And at the very beginning of this podcast, Ella did mention that she came to US, and so she was international student as well. I was an international student as well when I came to US. So I have my accent. Ella has her accent, but to be honest, I don't hear your accent at all. Your English is so good. But Ella told me that this is just like blew my mind. Ella told me that it's okay to have the accent because people will pay more attention to you, to understand what you're saying because you have the accent. So it's just a completely different viewpoint, because when I speak and people do not understand me, I feel so bad. And yes, some people may lean forward, but I take that as a negative thing, that people have no idea what I'm talking about. I need to speak better. I need to speak louder, and I hesitate to raise my hand that I want to do public speaking. So that comment blew my mind, Ella. I want to say thank you again publicly on this podcast for giving me that comment. And I thought about that comment a lot on the airplane on the way back home from that conference. That changed my mindset a lot.
I'm glad. Somebody told me the same thing at some point, and it gave me a lot more confidence because I tend to kind of have an accent a lot more when I'm nervous. But after that, I realized it's okay. It's okay to be different.
Ooh, that's so true. It's okay to be different. Yes, it's crazy. I still remember, I think the first month when I came to US to study abroad, and I went to college that they didn't have a lot of international students. And for me, American people, they like different animal on the planet. And even I have that American white guy or girl sitting next to me, I still feel like, wow, they are so different and I'm different. It's so difficult for me to talk to them because I always have that barrier that I'm so different and they are different, and it seems like not okay. But yes, it's okay to be different. That's so true. Mm-hmm. And kudos to all international students that you can come here, learn the language, and then get over the language, the cultural barrier. That's a lot of credit that you deserve to get it.
I agree. It's so much more work when you have to study in a language that's not your native language. You have to put in a lot more work. So I do agree. Kudos to all the international students who are coming here, taking the chance, being in a different country, taking the risk, taking the chance. I think it's amazing.